Welcome, everybody, to Young at Heart, session number 165. I'm Father James DeLucio, back in the Paulist Fathers Library, ready, willing, and able to offer you nursery rhymes, stories, songs, poems, Mother Goose, Aesop's fables, Lewis Carroll, limericks, larks, and such, and other things, to keep us all young at heart. Today, I'm returning to African American folktales after some time considering whether or not I would share with you a Grimm's fairy tale that is comparable, if not completely parallel, to yesterday's African American folktale. Do you recall? It was The Cannibal Mother and Her Children. There were references in the commentary that I offered you that it had lots of echoes of the juniper tree. So I reread the juniper tree and decided, after considerable thought, I'm not going to share that one with you. You're free to look it up on your own, but it's really grisly. And there is some cannibalism in it. Also, ultimately a happy ending, but hey, it's Sunday. This is a late night, Young at Heart. Sunday, August 30th at about, 9:10 p.m. I'm recording this. So this might be your bedtime story, so I didn't want to return to yesterday's motif. This one is a bit of a satirical piece, like Jonathan Swift's A Modest Proposal. Do you remember that? Did you have to read it in junior high or high school? So this is an African American version of A Modest Proposal. It's called The Filial Son, and it plays on that erroneous concept of youth, to be dismissive of the senior citizens, dismissive of the elders, because, we just don't know, we just don't get it. And it's quite clever, and it takes a few little interesting turns, too, so where it starts may not be exactly where you expect it will end. It's called The Filial Son, and it was handed down with this notation, which is kind of interesting, that this was a story told by a teacher named Mamuni, about 40 years old, which perhaps young people thought was kind of old. Can you imagine? And also, though, we had mentioned that a lot of the young men don't like to repeat the stories that their mothers and grandmothers told them when they were children. So I'm assuming that this Mamuni was a male, and that the young men would take more notice of it. Okay? And it starts out in Mamuni's words, "Here is my story also. Pay attention here. My story has no songs." I think that means because there's no rhymes and repetition, it's going to be harder for them to remember. But he wants them to pay attention and remember the lessons of this story. Okay, my tongue is in my cheek. There once lived a very wicked chief. Nobody liked him because of his wickedness. He was wicked to old men and to old women. By pretending to be kind to others, he tried to be popular with all the young men who were there in the country. When the chief won over the young men, they all liked him. One day, the chief called all the young men together, and he told them, "My friends, what do you see?" They asked. "What?" he replied. "Don't you see all these old men in our country?" They asked. "What?" "You should kill them all. Everyone should kill his father." "Aye," they said. The idea that they should all kill their fathers? Yet, as a result, everybody with an old father brought him before the chief to be killed. This one went and brought back his father to be killed. This other one went and brought back his father to be killed. They killed all the old men, except one. He was the father of a young man who said, "No! Why should the chief kill all the old men, and why should I send my old father to his grave?" He got down, and he went and dug a hole in the ground, and he concealed it nicely. He sent his father there, where he had dug. He fetched wood, and he put it across the hole, and then he covered it with soil, making a small hole for air to pass through. At that time, the others had all finished killing the old men. When the chief had executed them all, he called the young men together. "My friends, now we have finished killing all our old men. This is a cow that I'm giving to you. I am so happy that we got rid of all these old men. So I want you now to go and kill the cow. Now, when you have killed the cow, cut the best part of the meat, the sweetest and the bitterest, and bring it to me. If you don't bring it to me, you yourselves will not be safe." "That's all right," said the young men. "Eh?" The young men rushed out. They slaughtered the cow, but asked, "Which is the best part of the meat of the cow, the sweetest and the bitterest?" They were worried. They went and cut the liver and sent it to the chief. He asked whether or not they thought this was the best part of the meat. They answered, "Yes." They added part of the bile. He said, that is the chief, "This wasn't the best part of the meat. They should go back and find it quickly." Then all the people became very worried. Every night, the one young man who did not kill his father, he would take some food to his father. And one day, when he took the food to his father, the father asked him, "What's the news about town?" He said, My father, we are suffering so. We killed all the old men, but now the chief gave us a cow to kill, and he said when we killed the cow, we had to find the part of the cow that was the sweetest and bitterest part of the meat, and bring it to him. And if we did not bring it to him, that we ourselves would not be safe. This is what is worrying us." The old man laughed and said, "Son, do you know what is the sweetest and bitterest part, the best part of the meat?" His son said, "No." He again, the father again asked the son if he didn't know what the bitterest part was. The son said, "No." "The sweetest and the bitterest part is the tongue. When you go back, cut the tongue and send it to the chief and say, 'Chief, the sweetest part of the meat is also the bitterest.'" So the young man rushed back where all the people had sat down. They were so undecided about what they should do. And if something did not happen, well, they might all be thrown into the pit, a different pit, not the safe pit, where the good young man's wise father resided. No, in fact, if something didn't happen, they were going to throw all the meat away and run out of the country. Might as well. So when the young man arrived, he said, my friends, let's take the tongue of the cow to the chief. So they cut the tongue for him, and he took it to the chief's palace. He went and threw it down before the chief and said, Chief, see, the sweet part of the meat and the bitterest part are the same. The chief sat down quietly, and he finally said, You did not kill your father, did you? Speak the truth. You have not killed your father? The young man said, It is the truth. I did not kill him. When all the other, it's late, when all the other young men were killing their fathers, I hid mine. The chief said, You are the son of a very wise old man. It is true. The sweetest and bitterest part of the meat is the tongue. As for that, all these young men, they are fools. They are big fools. Why should somebody send his father to the chief to be killed? But if you want the sweetest part of the meat, find the tongue. Were it not for the tongue, you would not have an enemy, and were it not for the tongue, you will not have a friend. And Munambi writes, and that's the end of my story. So what do you think of that? It starts with one kind of theme, and then it takes a turn and brings us to another. And, well, we've got some wisdom, but at great expense. And this wicked chief, what, did he suddenly become wise in some way? Or he was that very difficult combination of wicked and wise? That's for you to decide for yourself. And tell the story to others and see, as you tell it, what new thoughts occur to you and what is evoked in your listeners as you share it. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you found it a suitable bedtime story, and I hope you sleep well. And if you are going out for a late night walk, make sure to wear your mask. Stay safe, stay healthy, and God bless. Good night, everyone.